Oh ho ho! Merry Christmas, Card Lounge! Hello, little PSA boy. Here is Beckett Grading Services as a gift for you to do with what you wish. Merry Christmas!
Santa, you shouldn't have.
That-
Giving me a whole entire grading company, I couldn't ask for better.
A whole grading company. And what'd you do with SGC from last year?
A whole lot of nothing.
A whole lot of nothing. Hey guys, welcome back to the Card Lounge podcast. It's Robo.
And twice baked Jake.
And we are going to, I guess, be discussing still in the news, PSA. I guess it's not so much a controversy, but the comments from the last episode, I feel like a lot of people were just very confused about the story of the 9s to 10s and still really focused on that. And guys, I just want to let you know, the information that's out there publicly is all very confusing on it. Unless we're going to talk directly with the person that experienced the issue, this is just Jake and I talking about what we're seeing in the ethos. You know?
I'll talk about it in that the core of it, there's only two main points that really matter. Is that you're buying and selling cards to PSA before the final grade is done. And then after you buy and sell cards to PSA, the grades get changed. Those are the only 2 points that matter. What happens less matters.
And I think people were like wanting us to be more mad at PSA. And don't worry, guys, we can be like angry at PSA, but it's just like the key difference, or I guess the key differentiating factor of where I would be angry is not so much that like that time between the grades changing or like the grades changing. It's the fact that the grades changing while someone's trying to sell back to PSA shouldn't be a thing, because PSA shouldn't be buying slabs that they're grading.
Yeah, and I thought we made that very clear, that was our point, is that, hey, we don't like that they're having so many pies or so many fingers in different pies. We already said that.
Yes, yeah. The grading company does not need to be grading your cards and then suddenly you have an option to sell your cards to that grading company. It's just it's a conflict of interest. Like,
I'll tell you the most likely outcome of this, and it's actually a terrible outcome, which is that respectfully, most likely PSA was doing something which was quality assurance, is that they were out there looking at people's complaints, and every now and again, if someone complains loud enough, PSA does a double check on it. It's like when you hear on the toll call, your call may be recorded for quality assurance purposes. That was what PSA was doing. They're hearing people's complaints and they're reviewing themselves for quality assurance. So they were doing a good deed by helping this guy out in re-looking at his grade. But you know what's going to happen in the future. They're not looking at anyone's grades again because this really blew up in their face.
That's true. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's like
they did a good deed for this guy, but it actually ends up backfiring really hard on them. You know what I mean? So in the future, I don't think they're going to be quality assuring checking people's grades as much anymore.
I also think there's a lot of mistrust now because I didn't see PSA put out like truly an official statement going over, I guess, the whole mishap. And I think that is why there's a lot of misinformation out there. I mean, just to clarify this part, I think a lot of people thought PSA was just running a straight scam. Like, they know the cards deserve a 10, but we're going to send this guy an email saying the cards were graded a 9, and then just like, oh, let's hope and pray he doesn't want to keep his 9s. He sells the 9s back to PSA, and they're just going to go, oh, we can actually make these 10s because these were so middle of the road, like 9.5. Now that we have them, we'll actually put a 10 on them.
Yeah.
And you're saying that that is not how that went down based on the events that were presented.
Yeah, the guy is cool with PSA. PSA is cool with him. At the end of the day, they're not going to release an official statement because any statement they release would be admitting fault. There's no statement where...
Well, they are at fault.
They are at fault.
They should...
And we stated this in the last episode, which is, hey, even if you put PSA in the best of light, they still look terrible coming out of this. There is no world where this makes sense, because how are you selling cards before their grades are official? You know, or if the grades are official, you shouldn't be regrading them. So that's the thing. At a certain step, is the grade final or not? And if the grades aren't final, why am I able to sell my card?
How is there an offer?
Yeah, exactly.
That's completely messed up too. And like, I don't know if that's just a person like flipped a switch or clicked something and they weren't supposed to, or they got ahead of themselves. I don't know if it's just the way they engineered this stuff, if there was like a bug, right? Because, you know, how come this just happened to this person and not 50,000 other people, you know, or even just hundreds of other people. It would have been interesting if this event not only occurred to like this one guy, but a bunch of other stories went viral. You know what I mean? Like someone sold a bunch of stuff back. They looked up the cert of those numbers and then they were all tens. And like, you know, you saw them on PSA's eBay account. Like that would have been, I think, more scandalous if there was a real like.
I'll tell you the most funny
situation.
thing was the cross pollination of the memes. Once PSA bought BGS, was I saw a lot of comments saying things like, "Oh, can my BGS 9.5 be regraded into BGS 10s now just randomly?" and stuff like that.
Sure. Well, that's what we need to talk about. So, guys, we didn't bring this up in the last episode because we literally filmed the last episode just a little bit before the news broke the official news of PSA's parent company, Collectors, buying out Beckett. So Beckett Grading Services, BGS. And this is one thing I also see a lot of people get wrong because people think that the CEO of Beckett had some sort of like issue where he went to jail or was in hot water like legally. And that's not true. Like the Beckett CEO is completely fine. It's Beckett's parent company. All these companies have parent companies, guys. And the CEO of that company was the one that had some sort of legal drama with like related to him. So
and at the same time, it's not PSA buying Beckett. It's PSA's parent company buying Beckett.
Yes. So what that means, guys, it's like, you know, if Twitch's CEO does something bad, that could be like weird for Twitch, but Amazon CEO, which is Jeff Bezos, they own Twitch. So something could happen to Jeff Bezos. It doesn't really affect the day-to-day operations necessarily of Twitch because Twitch has its own CEO and C-level execs that
Similar
are
to
running
how,
the company.
YouTube is owned by Google.
Yeah. And I think even Google is owned by, right? Isn't Alphabet like the parent company that owns like Google
There's
plus
so
other?
it
Dude,
goes change.
It just
company.
goes, right?
And I'm sure YouTube has like companies that it owns as well.
Yes, right? They're all just going to one guy that owns
One
it
day,
all,
Car
you know?
Lounge is going to own PSA and Collectors and BGS.
And then it'll all org up
They should just trust us.
into the 5 elders. And then some guy named Emu at the top is the one running it all. So,
is this a Dragon Ball reference?
That is
I'm
not
kidding.
a Dragon Ball. Yeah, I hope so. So let's talk about this.
All right, what is your prediction of what come out of this purchase?
Right. I mean, I think the outcome is probably something...
Because you grade BGS way more than me. Like, you grade a lot more BGS.
Yeah, and that's what I was telling people with, I saw a couple comments that were like, oh, Jake and Robo, how can you guys still grade with PSA with all the stuff they do? And
we literally stated in the video.
I grade more with Beckett.
Yeah, we literally stated in the video, hey, we're grading less with PSA now than ever.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think it's like, oh, would we still send some cards to PSA? And I think so many collectors grade with PSA, and so many collections, so many cards are in PSA slabs that, I've got stuff I'm going to send to PSA because I don't want it in any other like type of slab.
Sure.
And I think, that person and anyone that comments or has that type of thought, I think, it's right to ask people of that, but you also can't expect everyone all at once to just be like, oh, let's not grade with PSA. It's kind of interesting, but
everyone can make their own decision. I won't say I'm at the level of boycotting PSA, but it certainly makes me rethink what do I send to them, which is, I think, very reasonable.
I'm trying to think I think this is the question that some people want us to answer for them, but we can't. But it's like, I think everyone is thinking it. So I'm just going to say it. It's what would PSA have to realistically do for us as collectors to go, okay, I'm going to submit like 50 Pokemon cards to wear. PSA is not an option for me. And PSA has just been in the game for so long. It is kind of hard to really think about what would need to, like, I would have to be very, maybe personally, I've sent them cards. They've damaged the cards. They've charged me for grading cards that they didn't grade. They've charged me for putting 6 on cards that they damaged. And then I just was like, I have to talk to customer service. I get no help. It's kind of like, if any other company treated me that way with their service, it's like, I'd have to kind of be like, oh, I'm not going to use you. But then it's like those same cards, I can send a large portion of them to BGS, but not everything. And I'm not really sending those same cards to CGC at all. There's Tag. I've seen a lot of buzz where people are like, this is so good for Tag. And I think it is, because Tag can kind of
The CEO of
ride this
CGC
wave.
actually released like an official statement saying,
saw
we're
that.
not backing down.
Yeah.
You can trust us.
Yeah, which, I mean,
Make grading great again.
that is kind of like, it makes sense for CGC to say that. And I still just, I don't personally, like, once they changed everything, I think honestly, if they had stayed with the blue labels and just originally how they graded things, I had a little bit more faith in them.
I love the black label. I hate the new white label. The black label, the pristine one for CGC, looks great. It's gold, it's shiny. For like their version of like a BGS black label, they have their own.
The pristine.
CGC pristine.
Right.
That looks good.
What are you talking about then?
The white labels, when it's not pristine, it's like the label's like black and white.
Oh, you mean just I
and
see.
it's lame.
The label doesn't look that great. I agree. When it's a pristine, it's kind of okay, but I still liked how the blue labels looked with the perfect, with just the gold lettering on it. I just think it looked better. I think CGC slabs are also a little weird. I like, personally, and again, this is just, my personal opinion, I think the Beckett slabs are the best. And then, but just what it comes down to, again, is they still run 9.5 as a gem mint. And they honestly just need to make gem mint be a 10. And they could still keep 9.5
one thought on BGS, all right?
as a grading scale.
I love that they have subgrades. I think the subgrades
I love the
are
subgrades too.
And here's the thing. You have to pay extra for the subgrade. They should just have the subgrade on every single label. Instead of charging you extra, it should be seen as a premium. And I would grade a lot more of them if all my labels will always have subgrade.
Well, you just see it as an extra cost. Yeah, the way that they market
shouldn't charge
that,
extra.
They
If
should-
they
they
didn't
should
charge
just
it
give you-
extra, I think they would get enough volume of grading that it would make up
Make
for
up?
like the $2
Interesting.
difference or something.
Well, honestly, they should run that as a special for like a month or something. Say, hey, all subgrades are free. People would submit, and then they could just run that data. But see, that's my point. Me as a business owner, you say that, and I hear that from like most of the people in the community. I would go, let me run an A/B test and just see if this is better for my business.
Sure.
BGS never does that, ever. In fact, they did test 3 years ago just making quad 9.5s equal to a 10. They got so much backlash that they changed it. And I remember thinking, why would you make this decision? Like, you got to have at least one. I think they could have done 3 9.5s and 1 10, still put a 10 on the label. But in the writing below the 10, it could be like gem, mint, or you would just call it mint plus. Like, you could have like 9.5, 10, everything the same, but then you would just change like what you would call that slab. It'd be like mint minus, mint plus, mint, there's like gem mint, and then pristine would still be pristine 10. I mean, we've been saying this for years, and BGS just hasn't made a move on it. So getting to the topic at hand, I think with collectors buying BGS, it could either, in my opinion, it could go one of two ways. It could go really, really good or really, really bad.
Oh God!
And that's where I'm at.
You're
I gotta
too-
take this hat off to really
hot?
get into this.
You're too optimistic. You're
this is
too
what we're doing.
optimistic. I don't think it can go good in any way. There's no world where this goes well.
Okay, you think
I
it's gonna
think
go
you
bad.
are. I think you are green eyes, and I think that's fine. Is that you have to think about the optimistic side? Is that there could be some good that comes out of this?
Yeah.
And I think it is possible, and that's probably how they pitched it. I don't think there's a world where this goes well for BGS.
Wait, you explain to me what this is the thing, all right? If I'm the CEO of Collectors and I have the two biggest grading companies as my toys for my company, people are going to want to grade stuff at PSA. People are still going to want to grade stuff at BGS. BGS has the black labels. Clearly, when you look at value, BGS is superior to PSA. So, and it's so funny how many times I see in the comments where people say the opposite. And it's like, dude, what data do you look at? But regardless, that is how it is. And what I think is interesting is if they can make the changes that would have made BGS better than PSA, but do it under the collector's umbrella, then it just means that they make money either way, right? So I think in a weird way, even if there's some cannibalization of getting some people that submit to PSA to BGS, they can play around or experiment with these BGS things now that BGS was too afraid to do, even though they were super obvious and the writing was on the wall that that's how they would compete with PSA. And what it'll do is it'll take a lot of the market share from like CGC, from Tag, from these people that try other grading companies because PSA and BGS just F up so much. Like BGS just Fs up like on the labeling of things. I've got 2 cards, 2 labels. The labels look different, even though it's the same title. They just put stuff in different places.
Yeah.
PSA, that's all automated. I struggle to understand.
It's centered properly.
It's centered.
On the label.
Every label of every Charizard VMAX, every letter is in the same spot.
Sure.
If you get 100 BGS 10 Charizard VMAXs, it could say Charizard V Max, then the set name, or Charizard V Max, the set name, and then the number of the card there, or Charizard V Max and then set number card, and it's a holo.
It's archaic.
It's weird. It's like, why not just, if someone can identify the card in your system, you get an engineer to make what the label is, standardize the label, and then an employee, they can't mess it up. They just go, this is a Charizard V Max, and it just prints the label like it would for any card. The fact that like you have someone manually making the label every time blows my mind. And it's got to be someone manually making it because it's different in so many different ways. So it's like if someone tells me that that's automated, then that's horrible.
Yeah.
All that just to say, I think if collectors can do these tweaks, it makes a lot of people go grade at Beckett, and then they make money either way. If they do tweaks and it messes up things at Beckett, then people just are instilled more to just continue grading all the majority of the stuff with PSA. And then it's like, it's all the same to them because they own both companies.
Sure.
So that'd be the positive.
Sure. And I'll say the negative, which is what I think will most likely happen.
They could cut BGS.
Yeah,
like
I do think over the next couple of years, the resources that BGS has will slowly dwindle. It's not going to be an immediate change. What I think is you're going to submit stuff to BGS. They're going to come slower and slower. Their processes is going to be weaken and weaken. And there's reasons for that. It's like a kingdom. You know, you have an heir and then you have a spare. And BGS is not the heir. You know, it's really straightforward as that. And ultimately, you as a business owner, you don't want to split your pie. If you have one restaurant, you want everyone going to that restaurant. You don't want half the customers going to one shop and then half the customer going to another.
Wait, I thought you did as a restaurant. That's what like diversification of a portfolio is, right? It's like if you have a pizza shop and a Chinese food shop, and then like
the difference is that they're the exact same shop almost. That's the difference. Is that you're having 2 of the exact same Chinese shop right next to each other. That's the difference. If you're diversifying, you really want to go into something that's a little bit different. But ultimately, if you're a grading company, you only want one grading company. There's no world where you want 2 separate grading conveyor belts, two separate accountants. You know, like that's just doubling the work and doubling the cost for no reason. You want it streamlined as possible. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because we see it happening to SGC, which is the company that PSA parent company bought last year. And so there was optimistic outlook for them. But while every other grading company is currently up in the amount of cards they're grading, SGC's numbers are down significantly. Card Lounge will be right back after this brief message from our sponsor.
Kanto Shark. This episode of the Card Lounge podcast is sponsored by Kanto Shark, the #1 place to consign your Pokemon card items and your collection.
If you're looking to sell some of your graded Pokemon cards or sealed Pokemon card products, check out Kanto Shark today. They make it super easy to sell your Pokemon cards and turn your collection into cash whenever you need it.
Kanto Shark has been in the business for as long as I've been in the hobby. They've got some insane grails up on their website right now, including a full, complete 27 out of 27 Gold Star set CGC 10 with a PSA 9 Espeon Gold Star in there. So it's a full Gold Star set. They've got ponchos, both the Rayquaza poncho, Charizard poncho. They got Rayquaza Gold Stars in a BGS 9.5. Just an insane place to go to find your Pokemon grails and Pokemon sealed items.
I completely agree with Rob. You're looking for some of the most authentic sealed Pokemon card products, as well as some of the best holy grails in the whole entire hobby. Check out Kanto Shark today.
Guys, and Kanto Shark isn't just for the buyers. From the seller perspective, you can go to Kanto Shark as easy as just hitting them up on IG. You can actually sell your stuff at some of the best consignment rates in the hobby right now. For items between $500 and $2,000, the seller receives 85%. Now, when you bump up the items that you're selling from $2,000 to $5,000, you get 90% of the sale price. From $5,000 to $25,000 items, you get 92% of the sales price. From items that are $25,000 to $500,000, you get 95% of the sales price. And for any items that are $500,000 and more, you get 97% of the sale price.
They also sell whole entire Pokemon card collection. In fact, they just sold a massive modern Pokemon card collection full of booster boxes, ETBs, and ultra premium collection, and it sold for $760,000 plus a 5% buyer's premium. So you do not have to sell your items one at a time, guys. You can sell off your whole entire collection, and that is such a cool idea if you're looking for that kind of value.
So if you're looking to buy some really cool grails, or if you're trying to sell stuff and you need a consignment service that is professional, works fast, and gets you paid even quicker, then hit up kantoshark.com, or you can hit them up on IG. Tell them Card Lounge sent you. Okay, to your point, is there a world though where it makes sense sometimes as a business? I have seen things, maybe the restaurant thing isn't the best analogy.
Sure.
But I know there's like certain things where if you buy out your competitor, you keep the competitor still doing their thing because you may understand that people don't like what, you know, how we started this episode. PSA is just doing so many questionable things and having so many like conflicts of interest that to have a spare heir may not be such a bad idea. In the same vein that I think, I don't want to say this definitively because I don't know 100%, but I'll just say as an example, right? It's like Hershey's, right? Hershey's has their own version of chocolate mixed with peanut butter, right?
Sure.
I think is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, is that owned by Hershey? Okay, see, let's just say Hershey's has a bar that's chocolate and peanut butter, and Reese's is, I think, owned by their own company or like by the M&M's brand, right? And
Sure.
They have their own chocolate
The Mars
peanut butter
company,
thing.
maybe.
Mars, right? It's something like that. It's like I think this has happened where one of the candy companies buys one of the other ones, but they keep it the same just so that if someone goes like, "Oh, I want to boycott, Reese's Pieces," they'll go, "Oh, I'm gonna go and buy like peanut M&Ms," but like little do they know, it all the money goes to the same place, Whereas if it's made known, or if you just got rid of peanut butter M&Ms and made it all Reese's Pieces, then if someone decided to boycott Reese's, the company, then no one's buying your candy at all. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get it, and I do think that there is a small chance that Beckett thrives. I just don't see it happening. We'll have to wait and see. I think just with the news of this coming out, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, shoot, I'm not sending my cars to BGS any longer." Will you still send your cars to BGS?
Yeah,
I think you probably will, right?
Yeah, that's the funny thing to me. Yeah, of course I will, because if anything, dude, let's say if there's a world where they gut Beckett, or Beckett just stops being a grading company.
Sure.
I don't think Black Labels, I don't think BGS Slabs become worth less. I think
that was a very common question as well. Does this mean that BGS cards are worth less now?
They go way up.
I don't think they're
way
worth
up.
less, but I certainly don't think like they're worth significantly more. And there's a reason for that.
What do you mean?
The reason is that the credibility and the prestige of the company is important. I think that if the company literally becomes defunct, that's when it becomes less valuable. Is that, hey, I can no longer verify this company literally, like you can't even go on their website and type in the search anymore. But that's years down the line,
Years, okay.
I don't think BGS reaches that point for many years. Like it's going to take years if they were to go down that route.
I think even with extended time, they just become like a legacy item. And as long as you can vouch that the item is authentic, and that would be just it being in the slab. That's why I think the slabs actually become super important. I think later no one cares if they have a 9.5 gem mint. It's like, oh, it's in a Beckett slab, and like they don't make those anymore. It's kind of like almost like
imagine if people start collecting BGS slab just because they become a rare commodity.
Well, no, you know what happened, right? The CGC Perfects, the old blue labels.
Oh yeah, the gold ones, right?
They got everyone to convert, like, hey, come bring your blue labels to us. We'll either convert your 9.5s, and a lot of people made a lot of money this way, because I knew people that kind of got that news, I think, early from just
They
like
bought a bunch of
hearing
9.5 because they were less value.
Well, they were less value, and they knew that with the new label, CGC was just going to be like, all right, we're going to bump these to 10. Give us back your perfects. We'll turn them into pristines or whatever. I don't know how many people like submitted, but I know some people did, and some people just held onto their CGC perfects. I did.
Okay.
And I had low level cards. Like I have a Jolteon art rare from like Brilliant Stars, like you know, Blues Jolteon.
Yeah, it's like an oddity now. It's like almost like a peculiar taste.
It's like a perfect, you know, I've got a perfect Pikachu, because I was like, when I saw it one time, I was like, oh, this is cool. And I was getting a lot of those perfects when they actually had a little bit of a premium on them, because it was in the beginning. Remember, this was CGC. Remember how it was hard to get a 10.
Oh, I know it was hard, because I graded with CGC and I could not get a 10,
Yeah.
on perfect Japanese cards.
Right, there you go. There you go. So like, yeah, I have some English perfects, some Japanese perfects, and I guess after, I mean, let's look at how long the blue labels have been dead. I think when you see a blue label on eBay now, or just like out in the wild, they actually go for a little bit of a premium, because they're now they're a rare commodity. And so that's what would happen to Beckett. Like, I have no question in my mind, but I don't think that is even going to happen. I think it still runs as a company. And to your point, if worst case scenario, this would be my counter to what you were saying. You're like, if your example is like that Collectors has 2 kids and PSA is like their favorite kid, so they give PSA, $100 million to operate with.
Sure.
And then Beckett, they give $10 million to operate with. Beckett was already this company that, like, I feel like could make so much more money, but they don't. They don't optimize. They don't change any of their antiquated things. They just got off of paper submissions like within the last year, even though that should have been done like 5 years ago.
20 years ago.
20 years, right. So it's like
paper submission. Imagine that, guys.
If Beckett only has to run off of $10 million, I would say they
on
were
a shoestring budget.
Right. They were already a $50 million company that was running off of $10 million anyway. You know what I mean? Like, all they know is shoestring running.
Sure.
So I don't think it hinders them for collectors to go, hey, we're only going to give you like a shoestring budget, because that's all that they pretend to operate off of anyway,
I like your optimism, and I do think it's possible that there's a world where they can both thrive. We'll just have to wait and see. It's too early to tell.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to boycott BGS or something of that nature.
Yeah, I'm still going to send cards.
At the same time, I don't think, some people are saying, does this mean PSA kind of have like a de facto monopoly? And I really don't think that way. There are people out there saying like someone should do something, like the government. Should we like get people to like break up this monopoly? And that's not really the case. At the end of the day, PSA Slab is worth whatever you as the consumer and collector value it at. You're trusting this company to say, hey, why is this raw Umbreon worth $1,000 and this PSA 10 is worth $3,000? The collector values it. If you, it's not like the card has changed.
No, but they're putting the grade on it. Okay, wait. I'll actually counter what you're saying a little bit.
Sure.
I disagree a little bit in the sense that I think something. So if we're just gonna talk top level about this, I don't think collectors should have been able to buy BGS because they have PSA. It would be like Coke's parent company being able to buy Pepsi.
They would argue.
I don't think you can do that.
They do. They do buy other water companies all the time, like other drink companies. What they would argue is exactly what you're arguing, which is saying, hey, they're not the same. They hit like 2 different kinds of collector. BGS hits like the rich collectors and PSA is more for the common folks. So we're not targeting the same market. If they were to go to Congress, that's what they would argue, is that they're not the same.
Well, okay, they're not this, but I don't know if that's... okay, this is the thing with it, right? It's like
their motives at the end of days are unclear, but they can say whatever.
They can say what. Sure. I just think it's like we know PSA grades the most cards. BGS could have. Dude, I try to think if they had just changed their grading scale to like make if 90% of their 9.5s that they gave out actually became gold label 10s, and it was like easier to just have a gold label 10.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean just give it freely on a card.
Just make it a little bit
the
easier.
old way that PSA used to freely give out 10s.
Sure.
But just make it a little bit easier for that.
Which is what
the
CGC
collector.
did. They caved and made it a little bit easier.
And look at how much there. I don't think people regard CGC as this like the utmost pristine grading company anymore, and that's why their pristines don't go for as much as like a BGS 10 black label. But the black label prestigiousness wouldn't have been threatened by allowing for more gold 10s to be in the market. If anything, it would have just perforated the market more. More people would be aware of BGS, have more confidence in BGS, and then actually like probably send more cards.
I know what you mean. Is that I agree. Is that ultimately, if there was just more pristine 10s, there would be more BGS collectors. And if the amount of black labels stay the same, but there's more BGS collector, it would just drive the value of the BGS black labels up
more, because there's more people that want to collect them. Bingo. It's like
maybe you should be the CEO. I'm kidding.
I mean, if I was, I think I would do. I mean, BGS CEO. If you want to talk to me, we can talk. But I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer. So I don't. And it sounds like it's like insulting. I don't even know if the Beckett CEO has the call. Well, I guess he would, because he's the CEO, right? But someone must be telling him not to do that. Whoever is against that at Beckett will definitely go down in history as like really effing up
the struggle of it is that they've already have a system set up, and it's much harder to change the system because now you're like unraveling like
but they did
all
though
the previous
they
grades.
pushed all the way to a change, and they did officially change Beckett slabs at one point to make 4 9.5s equal a 10, or just like if there were like the thing is they changed too much too fast, and then as soon as there was pushback, they caved, and then they switched it back. And honestly, if I had to say this, and this will probably be the short that goes viral, it's like if they had just kept the 4 9.5s being gem mint and then still put a 10 on the card, I think people would think that's weird because mathematically it doesn't make sense. And then they could have just changed it later to like be like, okay, you need at least 110 subgrade. But if they didn't cave and just completely drop that whole thing, I think Beckett would be in a better situation now than them just reverting back. They'd be making more money, they'd be bigger, and they probably would have been more successful to the point where they didn't need to be, where PSA or collectors wouldn't have bought them out. Like they could still be their own standalone company, because I think the only reason they were sold, right, is like Collectors has a big purse, and you got to look at Beckett's parent company, and the CEO is in hot water because of whatever legal drama. And
I would say BGS is treading water. Is that they're not growing. They're not like losing customers that much, but they're certainly not growing. So they're just at a normalized state, and obviously whoever was at the top wanted to cash out, and that's fine too.
And then that's their decision too. But see, at the core, why are they treading water? Or why do some people still like? See, I can answer that question when people are like, "Why are you still going to send cards to Beckett?" And whether it's Pokemon, One Piece,
I can answer that as well easily, even though I don't grade. It's the prestige. Like there is value in that top level grade.
What? Just the black label?
No, not even just the black label. It's hard enough to get a BGS 10.
Hard to get a 10. Okay, yeah,
I agree.
Well, I was gonna say it's just they grade the most accurately, which at the end of the day is the job. Like
I would still say give me the subgrade, because sometimes when I'm looking at a BGS 10, not black label, or a BGS 9.5, and it doesn't have subgrades, I'm like, okay, well now what's wrong with it?
Can't correct. But then
I just want the subgrades. If you make the subgrades available, I can just make it a determined decision on what I want to buy.
You can buy that. I mean, they're just like, I think it's like $3 more per submission,
but not everyone buys it, And
I know,
if a card is missing that label, like I said, I'm not going to be as willing to buy that BGS card.
It is funny.
That's on them.
I look at some BGS slabs without the subgrades. I don't even like want them in my
Exactly,
collection.
right?
But
it hurts the resale value of that card, because now someone wants to see the subgrade.
But that's on the decision of the guy that's grading the card. I think it's funny. You view it as like that's how someone grades, and then the subgrades is extra. I don't. I view the subgrade cost as just
you always get the subgrade.
That's what the cost is. And if you don't want the subgrades, you get a discount on grading.
I agree, which is why it should just always be on the. It would just always be available on the subgrade, and that would in the same way that you were talking about, it would just increase the market share of BGS because now everyone would more likely buy a BGS 9.5.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, and they should do that. I mean, I think if they made that change,
it's like
and
a
they
penny
made
pinching
change,
cost to them,
but
it would like make their market share so much larger.
It speaks volumes in the community. So let's go over. I mean, how this affects the Pokemon card market and everything. I mean, let's look at like SGC. SGC didn't really grade a lot of Pokemon cards. I thought they've been a grading company that's been pretty.
They're
dead
grading
in the
like
water
no SGC cards, like Pokemon cards. Yeah.
Well, right, and I remember some of the Pokemon content creators that were trying to like, I don't know how they decided who they reached out to and like who was gonna push like putting Pokemon cards in SGC slabs. I've never liked the look of trading cards in SGC slabs because of the black, whatever. And I remember those like gem rate posts where people always be like, oh, SGC grades more than Beckett. And I would always tell people, guys, that's based off of the population reports. Those are not accurate to actually how many cards get graded. You can literally go to a card show and see with your eyes what is more graded. Like even going to the National, which is, a sports card show. I see very little SGC slabs compared to PSA and Beckett, So it's just the fact that so many people thought that SGC was like this like wildly successful company. Like I get it. They were around. They graded primarily sports cards, and sports cards collectors that liked them probably graded hundreds of cards with them. And that was their bread and butter. But now that PSA bought them out, why would those collectors suddenly stop grading as many cards? To go from 100,000 you said a month
last year
to like 20 to 30K is
this year.
That's pretty staggering.
Well, the difference is just the amount of resources. It's nothing crazy. It's little stuff. It's small hindrances. Imagine if you go to a card show and there's just one less Beckett grader there. Little stuff like that. That's what happens to SGC is that they have one less grader. They have one less accountant. They have one less table. They go to one less show.
So
little stuff like that.
Done.
And then it just slowly dwindles down. And that's what I think is going to happen to BGS is that over time, it's just one less show they go to, one less grader. Your submission time gets 1 week longer. It's just like little stuff where they're not even innovating. They're not even treading water. They're like retracting just a little bit. And slowly over time, like their service declines. And that's what I see.
Yeah, because because Beckett's line at most shows is already, they always fill up and then they can't even cater to doing some of the services that they offer for same day or for the rest of the weekend. Like, I've been to shows where on Friday I'm like trying to get stuff done. And then like, it's like Saturday, hey, can we submit some stuff? It's like, nope, we're already done for the day. And it's like the show just started.
10 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like 10 a.m. and you're done for the day.
Correct. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. They're done for the day. They're at capacity for all their graders on site. So, but that's the funny thing. It's like with collectors, again, what was the parent company of whoever? The parent company of Beckett before was only giving X amount of resources for Beckett to operate. If Collectr was smart, I think if they give the juice to Beckett, they can still give $10 million to PSA. And then if they don't want to give $10 million to Beckett, that's fine. But if instead of giving them $1 or $2 million, they give them $5 million, $6 million, like comparatively, it can still be, and maybe tell them to do certain things or make certain changes that if they implement, Beckett could just be wildly successful. And then they'll have PSA being wildly successful, Beckett being wildly successful. If PSA does something like come out with their own PSA GameStop mystery bags for slabs, people get angry at that. They can just go give their cards to Beckett.
Sure.
If they do something wild at Beckett and people are mad, the money will just swing back to PSA.
I can't speak on what truthfully they want to do with these companies going forward. But yes, if there is a world where they can take PSA's tech and give it to Beckett, like their grading submission system, PSA is just much more user-friendly, stuff like that, and just make the experience a little bit easier for BGS, it could be wildly successful for them. They just don't have to write down pen and paper style submission anymore.
The tech thing, okay, so this is interesting. And then let's go up a layer more where how this affects the Pokemon card market. I saw a lot of comments where basically people were like, tech has to be the future now. So it's either got to be tag or AGS or someone using some sort of like AI grading. We've already thought for a long time, it's like, why wouldn't the big three just implement their own AI grading once the resources is available to them. So then eventually, let's think 10 years from now, most cards are going to be graded by machine and not human. Just like, most things that we automated from 10 years ago to now are,
I'll tell
that's
you
just
right
how
now,
the future goes.
I know this for sure, but at like the big grading companies like PSA, they already use the tech. It's not that they don't use it. They just don't blast it out there. It's that they do take like photos of all the cards. They look at large scale scans. They do have stuff that allows for humans to check afterwards to make sure everything's correct. You know what I mean?
Okay, sure, right. But it's not. But a human has to still check and look at every
I
card.
think that's necessary. Even at tag, I think it's still necessary.
I don't think. I mean, I've been to like Beckett's HQ, and I
know Beckett's not doing that. No, I know for sure they don't do that.
Look at the card.
Beckett's a little bit different, which is why people like them. It's the craftsmanship behind it.
Right. Their graders are no joke. Like I've seen the process like up close. I've even helped them make like a video on the graders are all very, very like thoroughly vetted. Some are probably better than others. And, sometimes they do need to get on alignment for certain things when it comes to certain TCGs. But for the most part, I think like it's like a prestigious thing to be a BGS grader.
Sure.
Where like, PSA, it seems like they're just hiring people that are like, hey, you got 2 arms, can you look at cards? And then people are just like throwing random numbers sometimes when you look at some of the cards and grades. But regardless of that, I see a lot of collectors saying now, oh, is this going to be the end of grading? Should we just be looking at Pokemon cards or One Piece cards or whatever raw, like, and just worried about collecting stuff raw, keeping it in our collection as like, if you want it to keep it safe, I guess people are like, oh, you could just put it in a one touch. And to me, I kind of agreed with that overall premise, but there is something about the fact that I've got so many slabs in my collection now that slabs have kind of become the end state of the collecting hobby. Like even kids now, they get cards. They're like, oh, I need a grade. Like, I want to turn this into a slab, because there's something about keeping it, authenticating it, even if you already know that it's real to yourself, just like having the authentication on it so that no one can deny it. And then having it in like a protected case that arguably is much more protective than just a one-touch mag.
Card Lounge will be right back after this brief message from our sponsor.
Courtyard.
A huge thank you to Courtyard.io for sponsoring today's episode of the Card Lounge podcast. Check them out. You want to open up some cool graded Pokemon cards.
Courtyard is just an app on your phone, guys. You can literally just go to your phone, open up the app. You can choose what type of pack you want to open up. There's cheaper packs for people that are on a smaller budget. And then there's also some insane packs that have some crazy Pokemon grails that you can purchase. And then from a flick of your wrist, you can open up the pack and see a card that you can then leave in the vault, or you can have Courtyard shipped to you and you can get that actual card in your hands physically in just a couple of days.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the cards that you can pull on Courtyard right now, and this is just with their $25 pack option. You can pull yourself a Pikachu V full art from Lost Origin. You can pull yourself a Volcanion from XY. This is a secret rare, and there's a bunch of cool Tag Team GX alt art. You can pull a Dark Charizard. Rob, wouldn't you say that these are some awesome pulls that you can get from just a $25 pack?
Yes, Jake. Those actually sound like some amazing hits. I actually like the hits that are in the $100 bag. You can actually get some insane grails, including vintage holo hits, as well as modern day alt arts.
Use code LOUNGE10 for 10% off your very first rip. Pull a graded card, ship it, or sell it back for 90% of its market value. You can also list it on Courtyard's marketplace with 0 seller fees. Remember to use LOUNGE10 for 10% off, and thanks again to Courtyard for supporting the Card Lounge podcast. My philosophy has always been you buy the card instead of the label, and I think that's just something that the hobby as a whole has moved towards more. Even though people, talk about and complain about all these different grading companies and, all the issues that they have, at the end of the day, it's the collectors that's putting the value on the labels. There was a point in time when a label was nice, and it did give you some level of authenticity, but it did not quintuple the value of a card. it was just a small bump, like a 20% bump, 30% bump covers the cost of the literal encapsulation in the label, but it wasn't that much higher. But now the value and the prestige between a 9 and a 10 is insane, which is why people are talking about like fraud. There wouldn't be this much talk about fraud if the values were closer between these grades and the raw value and the label. But it's just insane. But it's the collectors that's doing it.
Bingo. So it is more of our collectors, and that's, I think, why so many comments, people are so angry. They're not really thinking it through as much as like you just kind of said it right there. I agree with that. I agree with there is a if grading a card, just add it like it costs 10 or 20 bucks, because you can do that for other collectible items. Like if you grade or I guess just authenticate whatever, Hot Wheels, vinyls, CDs, it's just like a little cost so that you can protect the thing, and then it like might make your thing worth a little bit more. But now, I mean, we're also kind of seeing this with like video games and video game grading. Now it's like, to get the highest grade on something, or like, and I guess to your point, it's just the label. It's like rich people or people that like have the money to spend, they want the best of the best of the best thing. Like that, the Superman comic that was found in the attic that got like a grade 9 on it.
Yep.
It went for what, over $10 million? It's like, well, it's still just the comic, but it, that I could maybe understand because it looks so much better than any other available copy out there. But for higher population stuff like Pokemon cards, does the collector, or like, do we as the collective hobby, are we putting too much power in the number 10, and like that's what we want to see? And I mean, there is some human psychology behind like just wanting to see like 10 10 10 as opposed to 9.5 10 10 9.
I'll tell you guys a secret. I've been scooping up so many good deals on 8s and 9s all day long.
Yeah.
On places like GameStop or Misprint or other like marketplaces where they sell cards, right? Sometimes you can find like PSA 9s going for like under $10 for the card. And it's like a gorgeous like illustration rare that might be $12 raw. Mm-hmm. And if it's a PSA 9 and it's going for $10 on GameStop's website, guess what? I'm scooping it up.
Yeah,
that's just a good deal.
Right.
So I've been doing that. People don't buy it because they're like, oh, it's a 9. But I'm like, wow, that's just a good deal.
And it you know what? I was looking at some cards in my collection, just looking at the cards, and I didn't even look at the labels where there were 9s on them. It's some of the stuff that I like about your collection. I found the Yokohama promo Pikachus, the ones where they're like, in the submarine and on the.
Oh, yeah.
So I have those cards, but they're in a PSA 9. Mm-hmm. I just bought them a long time ago in a 9.
They look gorgeous.
Because I think the 10s were just out of my price range at the time.
The 9s are so gorgeous.
Yeah, and I look at your 10s and I'm like, I think it's really cool that you have like the full set in a 10. But I also have the full set, and it's the same card, but mine just says 9 on it.
Yours is way cheaper. You save like $2,000 or something.
Sure, yeah.
So why not?
Yeah. And that's the funny thing. It's like, I know I'm just going to keep it. So I guess people would argue like, oh, but Jake could sell his more than $2,000. He could sell his for $5,000. But ultimately, you're not going to sell those cards, right? Because those are your PC. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to sell mine because it's my PC. Mm-hmm. So I just got my cards for like
a fraction,
$2,000 less than yours. And all that's different is the label on it, you know? I mean, yeah. And I've bought cards because, there's a 10 on it when I thought I valued that card as a 10. And I've always looked at the card and made sure that it was worthy of a 10,
Sure.
That actually bothers me the most is when something is in my collection, like even if it says 10, I know some people have this, like they have a card and the label on it is a 10. They're like, look, I got this 10 of this Rayquaza Gold Star or something. Yeah. But you can look at the back and you're like, man, that's not a 10. And I just feel like I would just be thinking about that all day long. Yeah. Just knowing it's not a real.
I have the same thing, is that I have a card inside of my collection. I think it's currently valued at like $5,000.
Okay.
All right. In a PSA 10. And it is a PSA 10. And it is a really valuable card in a PSA 10. But I know in my heart of heart, it is not a 10. I know it's like a 9 or an 8 at best.
Okay. So what do you do with
I can tell, but it feels like a little bit like a fraud.
A fraud, yeah.
I feel it. I feel like, am I a fake?
You don't have a real 10.
Having a 10 that's not really valued at 10.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I almost feel okay. Because you don't think that way about your 9s that have a little bit of whitening on it. And I look at some of my 9 collection for like, you know how I've been getting all the e-reader hollows in a 9? Guys, I've almost completed that. I just need a hollow B drill from Skyridge in a PSA 9. Hollow B drill. If anyone has a PSA 9, call me. Hit me up on IG because that's the last one I need. But when I look at all the 9s together, it's beautiful. And some of them I look at and I go, these could be 10s. Like, but I wouldn't upgrade them because I just want to keep them as a 9 set.
The fact that there's like a random 10 in there would actually detract from it more.
Right. It's just like I want to keep it uniform. And I'm looking at them and like they all do kind of have this little flaw to them. But it's kind of okay, you know? It's a little wabi-sabi.
It's a little wabi-sabi.
It's a nice little wabi-sabi to it. Yeah. And it would bother me, I think, if PSA came to me or a rep came to me and said, hey, without telling anyone, just give me all your cards. I will re-slab all these, just this set, your Hollow 9 set, and I'll put 10 on them. The value of it would go up. But if I'm keeping it anyway, if someone did that and they told me no one would find out about it and no one would ever know, I think I wouldn't do it because I think it would bother me more. It would bother me constantly thinking about knowing that they're all actually 9s and now the labels just say 10 on them. And
okay,
that's just the truth.
Sure, cool story, bro.
Cool
story.
That's what I'm saying. So okay, ultimately, I don't know. Where do you think with the new sets coming out, like you know, if Pokemon keeps printing to the amount that they're printing, I've heard rumors that they might be getting a new printing facility.
1.27 million square foot.
Yeah, did you hear about that?
Yeah, 1.27 million square foot.
That's Millennium, right? Like Millennium printing, and that's who they have contracted to print Pokemon cards. If they just print way more stuff, we know what's going to happen. Like if there's stuff more readily available, all the fair weather fans are going to drop out. They're going to go, oh, Pokemon's not worth anything anymore. That's when the scalpers leave as well. And, you know, I see this kind of effect where, do you think that affects, or is that why more people are focused on grading cards? Because in a way, grading also kind of gives you some padding or some cushion away from raw values whenever there's like kind of a market shift like that.
There's just too much of a value jump, you know. We know there's plenty of like random $5 or $10 illustration rare that once you grade them in a PSA 10,
they become like $250.
Yeah. It's just a massive value jump. So the proposition is still there. That gap needs to tighten. Once that gap tightens, no one wants to do it anymore.
Okay, so no one wants to grade anymore when the gap tightens. Okay, that makes sense. So what needs to happen in the hobby for the gap to close?
I don't know. It's already happening to some cards. Stuff like the McDonald's Pikachu. Like, I'm happy to give away this card for our holiday giveaway. If you guys want to win this card, remember to drop a comment down in the comment section. We're also giving away this Phantasmal Flames Elite Trainer box, as well as the Journey Together ETB. So if you guys want to win some stuff for the holiday, be sure to drop a comment down in the comment section.
Wait, did you just call this a booster box?
Oh, an Elite Trainer box.
Yes. So both ETBs. We got ETBs we're giving away. We're giving away a Burger Chew.
Guess the population report on this bad boy.
Dude, that's got to be at like what, a quarter bajillion now?
180,000 PSA 10.
It's almost to a quarter million. Dude, that
Isn't that insane? It's going to reach 250,000 PSA 10s.
If Pokemon loses popularity, that card is going to become like a $10 card.
So the reason why everyone was grading this card, and you know, the reason was the value proposition. If you find this card was $20 raw and you grade it at a certain point, it was going for $400, $500. Yeah. That's too much of a gap, especially with how easy it is to grade this thing. How easy
it is to get it,
you know? So, yeah, I'm still giving away. It used to be really expensive, guys. It used to be a $20,000 black label.
Yes. Guys, this looks like a really, you know what? If you crack this and get a BGS 10 black label on it, you could have $20,000. Although I don't even think a black label of this card.
I think it's going for maybe like 3. Yeah, like if you're lucky.
3 or 4K. Actually, dude, this one is. I'm not even joking, guys. It's got really good centering on it, and I don't see any flaw on it that Beckett would.
But like this card is now not worth that much in a PSA 10 for obvious reason, because there's so many of it readily available.
So many.
I think it's still really cool because, you know, it's a McDonald's Pikachu, but it should be valued around $50. This should be a $50 PSA 10.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that it's going for $500 at one point, insane.
Correct.
Like, that's literal insanity.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. And I think some cars are still overvalued, and that's just what it is that once they get to a rational number where, hey, if you grade a couple of these, you're probably going to get a 10. I might as well just buy a 10 because I don't want to waste the hassle of grading my own one. That makes sense. But right now, there's too much incentive on the grading side. Is you almost never want to buy the raw card because it becomes too easy to grade certain PSA 10s specifically.
Right.
You know, like this card. I graded a ton of these, and a ton of them came out to be 10s. Why would I ever buy 100 of these for $500? I just graded 100 instead.
Yeah.
You know? We're giving away a ton of these too, by the way, guys. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays, guys. And I guess we could talk about the new leaks for all the mega starters that are in the
Ascended Heroes set. They're in the Japanese 100 packs or decks.
100. They call it the 100 starter decks.
Yeah.
Which they've done the start deck stuff in the past, and I've always like wondered why, you know, like there's no English equivalent.
Oh, I
to
really
that.
wish there was. I predicted that there would be. I think it's such a cool idea.
Yeah.
To have like 100 different starter decks that you can just like grab one and just like have a battle with someone, and every time you have a match, it could be different because you
There's
know
100
no two
different types.
are the same.
Yeah,
you know?
I think it'd be a really cool concept. I think just to play it as a quick game would be really fun. But I think it's cool that they seed in all these different, like, now there's like alt arts, you know? There's like a different alt art for the Lily's Clefairy.
Yep.
That other one looks so much better. That should have just been
I'm not
the
surprised
alt
it's
art
there.
that they used in Journeys together.
That's
to
just
be
how it
honest.
is for all the most popular SIRs. And this has been an ongoing trend for a couple of years now, is that they do multiple iterations of them. So they did 2 versions of the Pikachu from Searching Sparks. They did 2 versions of the Team Rocket's Mewtwo. They did 2 versions of the Lily's Clefairy. So all of like the top chase cards, which they're aware of which they are, they just do 2 versions. So I wouldn't be surprised if next year or for the 30th celebration set, they might do a second version of like the Mega Charizard EX or something of that nature. They always do a second SIR of their flagship Pokemon.
Well, if they do a celebrations thing, especially because it's the 30th anniversary, they could just, with Charizard at least, they have the other one that they haven't touched yet, which is the Mega
Y one?
Charizard Y.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool to get an SIR of that. I wonder if you think they would redo the X, like give them a different SIR?
Yeah. Yeah, for the top chase card, you know, that's what we are seeing for Ascended Heroes is a ton of repeats, which is expected. There's new ones too, like the Mega Gengar, which is clearly going to be one of the top chase.
Yeah.
But Ascended Heroes is starting to look really stacked. The prices on the Pokemon Center ETPs, I'm not going to tell you this.
Wait, you got 2 of them, right?
I did not get a single one. Remember, I was in a meeting.
No.
They
Dude,
will come down.
I was
The
up-
prices on those will come down.
I was up for those.
Yeah.
I was in the line. I just never got through the line and never got
I
my spot to buy them.
I was in line, but I was stuck in a meeting,
got
and then when I
kicked
got back from my
Dude.
meeting, I was kicked out, and that's what happens. And I
Drop the
don't think that is
meeting.
fair.
Always drop the meeting, guys.
Hang on, boss. Hang
100
on. We got a Pokemon Center ETB.
100 people like lose their job on Monday because they're like, yes, I got a mega ascended ETB.
Jake, we got a problem. Someone spilled coffee all over the servers. Hang on.
Yeah,
I'm
I
in
feel
line.
like you just, I mean, dude, it's so hard to get. It's wild because I was looking at all the old Pokemon Center ETBs that I still have. I put some stories up. If anyone needs to get some of the Pokemon Center ETBs from Sword and Shield, I have those for sale as well. I feel like I could make care packages for people that just, I'm like building one right now for someone that I just talked to on IG. And it's because, dude, I just had like friends. I would call people during the day because there was no rush and just be like, hey man, go to this site, buy 4 of them. And you could just get 4 Fusion Strike Pokemon Center ETBs, 4 Evolving Skies ETBs. So the fact that it's still crazy.
They used to be available for months. Available for months. Like,
well, right. But even in Sword and Shield era, I wouldn't say it was like months. Like maybe after a week or so, it would be sold
I remember
out,
stuff
but-
like the Shrouded Fable Pokemon Center ETB.
Oh,
that
was
one was
up.
up there for months.
That's true. That was in
Astral
Scarlet
Radiance,
Violet era.
Brilliant Stars, the Pokemon Center Brilliant Stars ETB, that was available for months.
Okay, you know what's so funny? I was just looking at that.
Oh, and they were restocked for months.
Well, no, I put that in the care package, and you know what I realized? That one isn't going for as much as like Fusion Strike or Evolving Skies. Is it just because the Brilliant Stars packs aren't going for as much, or do people just like already have the Pokemon Center Brilliant Stars ETB?
There's a couple of reasons. Like I said, one of the reasons was they restocked that one heavier than some of the other ones.
You remember that specifically?
Yeah, like
Why
I
did they
remember
do
going
that?
on the Pokemon. You didn't do this, but it was common for me. Is that I would visit the Pokemon Center website like 3 times a week, every week. So
Okay.
I could see what was available every single week because that was just something that I would talk about in my videos. I'll be like, hey, this is what's available for sale today or this week or still, you know.
Okay.
So I'll do videos like that. So I kept track of it. So that's why I remember it being available more than you do because you really weren't doing that, but that's okay. But that was one of the items that was available. Astral Radiance had the same thing. Actually, the Lost Origin Pokemon Center ETBs were as well. Like those 4 sets, the Brilliant Stars, Astral Radiance, Lost Origin, Silver Tempest block.
Yeah,
that
Silver
one
Tempest.
specifically was restocked really heavily. Same with Crown Zenith. Crown Zenith was like available for a long time. Not the Pokemon Center ETB, but just the set.
ETBs.
You remember how long like Crown Zenith stayed cheap for? Like,
Yeah,
it stayed cheap
I
for
remember.
a really long time.
I wasn't buying a lot of it because it was just so cheap for so long, and now I feel like I barely have any Crown Zenith packs. I wish I had more.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Card Lounge will be right back after this brief message from our sponsor. A huge thank you to Collectr for sponsoring today's episode of the Card Lounge podcast. Collectr is the ultimate app to track value and manage your collection like a pro. Imagine this, you're at a card show and you need to know the value of a card immediately. You can scan the cards in seconds. Just point your phone and boom, the card name, set, rarity, and price. You have all of the insight on the current state of the Pokemon card market in the palm of your hand. Want to know the value of your collection today? Collectr pulls live price data from real-time sales, so you're always locked in on the current market value. No more digging through sold listings. Your collection digitized and organized with zero hassle. With real-time portfolio tracking, you'll see your total collection value, daily movers, and price history over time. You can even add cards to your watch list so you remember what you wanted to pick up. Collectr also offers an amazing platform to show off your collection to others. You can even see my whole entire collection showcase on the Collectr app. Try out Collectr today. It's available for download on iOS and Android.
Sure. I know. And now I just feel like I need to find more Crown Zenith. Did you put any Crown Zenith in these stockings, Jake?
I did not, but we do have some questions from the viewers to answer.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, let's do a Q&A. Let's do a holiday
I know
Q&A.
this was something that you
I'll put
guys
my
have been
hat back
asking
on.
for us a lot. So,
Oh, my hat's gone. It's gone forever.
all right, let's see what Santa Rob and Elf Jake, am I your assistant today,
All right.
can answer. I'm going to skip the most popular question that we got asked on the Q&A, which was actually, what would it take for PSA to be dethroned? And the only reason
That's
I'm
what I
skipping it-
said in the podcast.
Yeah, the only reason is because we actually talked
I
about it for
don't
the
know
first 50
what
minutes.
it would take. What would it take, guys? You
All
know
right.
what? If PSA,
The
just-
real answer is who dethrones PSA,
if
because
they murdered someone, if they murdered you, Jake, I wouldn't grade my cards at PSA. Unless it was a battle fest.
well, imagine if
need.
like one day you wake up and you see in the news like CGC now #1 grader. Would that make you feel like happier? I wouldn't feel like different. You know, I'd be like, meh.
You know what's funny?
I
guess-
don't care who's on
We-
top. Like if
I
any of
don't
them
care
are on
either.
top, like
Yeah.
I'm not like cheering.
You know, I like who I like. If Beckett Slabs weren't liked by as many people as they were right now, or they didn't have, I guess maybe subconsciously the resale value is nice, but I also think the resale value is there because they grade the most accurately and they put it in the best looking slab. I've always felt the BGS slab is the most like sturdy and most presentable. It sucks when they give you really cloudy plastic and it doesn't look as clear. That's one of the things I think Tag does really well. Like their cards look really clear, but then it's so clear from the display. There's no label, and then I can't read like what the actual card is.
Okay.
That's a little
First
annoying.
question. What are your top 3 favorite Pokemon cards? They want us to answer for every era, but I'm just going to say from Scarlet and Violet. What are your 3 favorite cards from the Scarlet and Violet era? And I think that's a really pertinent
Scarlet
question
Violet.
because the Scarlet and Violet era just ended. So we can actually talk about it, Realistically, looking back, what are your 3 favorite? I'll think about it.
I mean, dude, this is why when I was talking about modern and I think about what I bought from the Scarlet Violet era and like what I collected, I don't really have too much of an affinity to the Scarlet Violet era.
I'm gonna be real meme heavy.
Okay.
Well, these are all cards inside of my collection, so I'm not gonna say a card that's like not in my collection.
Yeah.
But my favorite cards from the Scarlet and Violet era: Magikarp.
Oh, okay.
The Magikarp illustration rare, gorgeous.
Okay.
Bubble Mew.
Bubble Mew, yeah.
Bubble Mew. Those are the only 2 I can think of in the top 3 right now. I don't know who the third would be.
Wow. See, okay, my top 3, I feel like. See, again, I like Charizard. I think the alt art Charizard from Obsidian Flames is super underrated. From Paldean Fates.
Oh, I know.
I like the shiny Charizard more than the Bubble Mew, to be honest. The one Akira Igawa drew. It's like
I got one.
So slick, so good looking. And then my third would be if we're going with just based on artwork and what I like. See, not value.
Oh, I got a good
I'm not
one
driven
too.
by the money. I think Prismatic Evolutions, the Ceruledge SIR.
I also got a card from Prismatic Evolution.
Okay, but when you know what I'm talking about, the Ceruledge, right?
It is good.
When I've shown you my Japanese copy, right? Does that
I have
card
a
not
too.
look amazing?
The Japanese Roaring Moon EX from
You like
Terrasto
that Roaring
Festival.
Moon? Yeah,
it
that was
is
not bad.
Gorgeous.
I don't hate
the texture
that
on
one.
it. Shinji Kanda nails it.
A Shinji Kanda. It doesn't speak to me the way other Shinji Kanda cards do, but I do like it. I think, you know what hurts that card more for me personally is just I have no affinity towards Roaring Moon.
It's true. I just think it's a
the whole
gorgeous looking
name-
card. It's purely the art.
Yeah, that was the other thing why I don't like Scarlet Violet era in the first place. I think the
hats?
the hats and the naming of the paradox, the future form and past form, like calling that Pokemon Roaring Moon. It's like I wish they would have just made it a Salamence past form or prehistoric form. Like it was too gimmicky.
Okay, here's a fun one. Mudkip asks, which card in your collection took you the longest to find/buy and why? What was a card that you've been chasing for a long time?
Man.
And that you just struggled to purchase?
The answer for this question in the future will be the Mario and Luigi.
That's
Pikachu.
different. You're not searching for it. It's everywhere. It's more like you can't buy it. So I would say that's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Like I'm not searching for a first edition Charizard. I can't buy it, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the card that I think I searched for the long. Oh, I know then.
It's a Beedrill PSA 9, guys.
I need that. I need that one for Pokemon for my personal collection. You know what it was? It was a Battle Festa.
Oh, which
in the
one?
same way that you're kind of hunting the gang. Like I found all my BGS 10 ones, and there is or I guess it doesn't even technically count as a Battle Festa. Kinda. It's the same artwork as.
Is it on here?
That one. No, this one.
Oh
See,
yeah, there's 2 different versions of it.
You have the rainbow one.
There's 2
When I
different
had
versions.
it
The
and I
black and
knew
white
I
version?
needed the black and white one, it took me forever. Guys, I was on eBay 24/7 searching this, and then you'd have to go to the picture because people would label it. Then, you know how I ended up finding it? Someone mislabeled it wrong. They said it was the thing, and I was like, wait a second. It has the black and white label. Instantly.
I prefer that. I only have
it took
that
forever
one.
to get
I
though.
know that there's 2 versions. I consider them the same card, basically, and I prefer the one with color. That's it.
Sure. Yeah.
Which makes sense because it's colorful. That's all.
Yeah, I like them both. I needed both to finish this full set.
Mine
And so.
is the Warm Pikachu set. Do you know what the Warm Pikachu set
Yeah,
is?
where he's wearing the little snow jacket.
Oh, you do. The Uniqlo Pikachus.
Uniqlo,
Those
yeah.
took me forever to find.
I
so
need
those
the orange. Dude, those are up right now.
Oh, those are incredibly rare.
Dude, I want those in my collection, but again, I
On
think
the
for the jacket one, I have it in a 6. And
12 years ago when those came out,
They were
they were
nothing.
going for like $30 each. And I remember on the forums, everyone was like, this is ridiculous. $30 for this Pikachu card? What has the world come to?
And now they're like so much more
They're like,
expensive.
yeah, like 5,000 each or something.
Yeah.
What's the one thing in your collection that you would never sell/let go of?
My BGS 10 2016 Battle
Oh,
Festa
that's a lame
Pikachu.
answer. I'll tell you what your real answer is. It's your collection of signed cards from all the different creators and friends you've made along the journey.
That too.
That too, guys. That too.
And my signed cards from Arita. I do have a lot of like autos. I just feel like I like them, just like Coop, from Coop. Shout outs to Coop's collection, because we've talked about like the auto cards, like they mean something to me, because when you get the artist to sign on the card and then it's kind of like slabbed up, it almost makes it like a very historical, very like antique, like very collectible item. I guess in the same way that if you get a Michael Jordan card and you go find Michael Jordan to sign it, that just really elevates the card,
Yeah. Mine would be the Latias and Latios, because it represents my marriage.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, so here's a market question for you. 2025 has been a wild year, so Poke9TCG asks, where do you think we will be at this time next year? Up, down, or flat? Just answer up, down, or flat.
I would say up.
Ooh, spicy. I'm gonna go with an interesting one.
Only because it's an anniversary year. If it was not an anniversary year in 2026, I would say down.
Oh, here's the thing. I'm gonna answer down. And the only difference is...
You are a fool.
No. Here's the only difference, okay? He did say this time of the year. December of next year, I think we'll be back down. It's that I do think there will be hype, and the hype will peak around June of next year.
I see what you mean.
And by the end of the year, the celebration set will be old news.
What if there's a big end of the year celebration set that's like Crown Zenith?
I wouldn't know, but I'm just gonna predict it. Your prediction is up. My prediction is down. We'll see who's right or wrong. They'll be right forever. They will be the source of truth for all future episodes.
I think what is interesting though is I have never seen us going into an anniversary year already at such a high. You know this because we see this in the Pokemon card prices right now. There's a little bit of a fatigue, a Pokemon fatigue. We had been. Everything was climbing 10, 20% week over week over week for way too long. We hit this little fatigue. It's giving us a little rest. But, dude, in 2 months, we get Mega Ascended in January, right? Ascended Heroes. And then when do they launch the celebration set? Is that March, April?
No. It'll have to be around June. So what they've been doing for the past 2 years.
Wait, they put it out for the whole year, though.
No. Hang on. Don't worry. I remember celebrations. I remember the 25th anniversary, and it did not come out until later into the second half of the year.
Really?
Yes, I promise.
Why do I feel like it was at the beginning of the year?
And here's the interesting thing. We have 2 special sets every year now. Our special set this year was black and white.
Right.
And it came out around June, July, which is why I do believe Celebrations, the upcoming 30th anniversary set, will be around June to July. The first special set would be Ascended Heroes, and Ascended Heroes will keep people, excited and hyped for Pokemon for the first half of the year, and 30th will take over for the second half of the year.
Oh, yeah, because Ascended Heroes is a special holiday set. Man.
The reason it's not coming out during the holidays is because now they have 2 sets in every single year. They have to move it because there was a period of time, you remember sets like Hidden Fates or Shining Fates, they would come out around like
Christmas,
October, September.
Right, ready for the Christmas holiday. Yeah.
Because we only had 1 special set a year, but now we have 2.
Interesting.
So some people are talking about the amount of sets. The amount of sets has increased. In fact, this year we have more sets released than ever before.
Yeah, and Pokemon just needs to print more. We're already getting a delay on the Ascended Heroes ETBs. It is gonna be a nightmare to be in Pokemon for the next couple months. Again, why I think a lot of people shifted over to One Piece. It's easier to collect, although now with all the prices of that increasing, it just makes it hard there too.
Here's a really interesting question from Zio Zakaruga. What is a Pokemon you hate the most? What is a Pokemon that you just dislike, Rob? I have one.
Okay,
what's your Pokemon that you dislike?
It's Klefki.
Klefki.
They just put eyes on a literal ring of keys and decided to make it a Pokemon. I think that's lame.
Mine is Eternatus because I think Eternatus does not even look like a Pokemon. It is the worst designed Pokemon I think they've ever designed. It's really poorly designed. It's just geometric shapes. Even worse than Kartana, which was at least like origami.
Yeah,
but Eternatus is just like ugly.
Eternatus isn't like a they tried to make it like a villain legendary type thing, right? But but to your point, it doesn't.
It works as
scream
a
the
Digimon,
same,
but it doesn't
right,
fit as a Pokemon aesthetic design.
When you think of Deoxys and the Pokemon movies, where like they gotta fight Deoxys,
or
Deoxys has
Darkrai,
these,
or like or like these other, like Deoxys is very well thought out.
right.
Eternatus is not.
Like when he's fighting Rayquaza. Yeah. Eternatus, I feel like people will just forget about Eternatus, like 10 years from now. That's true. All right, we'll take one more question from the Q&A. And we got...
Oh, here's a really fun one.
Okay.
And I think it's a great one to end the pod on, which is Q-Tip Quest at how did you two meet?
Oh, I mean, I think we've talked about this in episode like
1,
2, 3, 4, or 5. Yeah.
How did we meet?
Well, I knew Jake. So I remember talking to Jake when I was, I would say, a budding content creator, because Jake would do, and he's still doing, because I saw your YouTube video on it, a very cool holiday video. He would do a holiday giveaway where he would just send out cards to his followers, to people that followed him. And I followed Jake. And I always enjoyed his content. I think he makes really good content. And me and my girlfriend set or just applied or signed up on his Google Doc. And I remember I ended up not being chosen, but she got one from you. And then we left a comment on one of your videos, and then you responded back. And I think the first time we met in person, we talked about that story it was, I think, just the first card party.
It was the first card party.
First card party.
And
that was a fun one.
I remember the card you got because you showed me the video of you guys opening up my holiday giveaway.
Yeah, we filmed it. That's right.
Yeah,
and that TikTok did well.
You got the Japanese Tag Team GX Mew and Mewtwo.
Yes.
Which is actually, if you got that card in a PSA 10, it's like $300 or something.
Yes,
now.
I know. It's up there. It's one of my favorite cards, and I still have it, guys.
If only I had kept all of those Tag Team GX.
I know. You gave out a lot for free.
Yeah. We are also still giving a lot for free. If you guys would like to win a McDonald's Pikachu or some ETBs, be sure to add a comment, and we appreciate you guys. It's been kind of a crazy year. I can't believe we're like close to 50 episode, man. We're close to 1 year anniversary.
Oh my gosh,
Lounge.
50. I mean, well, yeah. Let's talk about that. This is I mean, we'll probably have a 1 year anniversary episode, but I mean, yeah, we made it to the end of 2025.
We survived it, you guys.
You guys
survived it. If you're listening to this, you're still here, so congratulations. Yeah. You survived 2025.
It does bring me such joy. I also even remember some of the haters. Like I still remember some comments from when we first spun up the Card Lounge channel, especially when it had no subs, and people are like, this isn't gonna last more than 5 episodes. This isn't gonna last more than 10 episodes. And we made it a whole year, man.
Yeah.
Dude, good job, dude.
Congratulations. And we really appreciate you guys for joining us on this journey. So thank you so much for watching. Happy holidays.
Yeah.
And we hope you guys have a fantastic time with your family into 2026.
Yes. Enjoy your holidays. And as always, thank you for lounging with us.
Peace out, everyone.